Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and welcome to A Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, we set the steps, we cover everything that you need to know to sell logically. Again, I'm Meridith Elliott Powell, and I am here with my co-host, Mark Hunter. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how are you? And we're both doing the show standing up. So that means we got more energy. This is going to be a great show today. Looking forward to it.
That's right. That's right. So we got some really good topics today. Just so everybody knows, once again, this is how the show works. We're going to cover a lot in a short amount of time. We always have a show topic, and today you're going to want to stick around for this one because we are going to talk about how you need to become what you need to do to be a true authority in your niche. We have got the lightning round, which is how we always end the call. We've got the book that we highlight every single session. And we start off with one of your questions because we always like to hear what our viewers are saying. So, Mark, do you want me to take it away with the question or do you want to take it away?
Why don't you take it away with the question? And you know what? Maybe before you do that, I'll just explain, hey, what you want to do is you want to jump out to our website, saleslogicpodcast.com. Leave us a question or just go out to social media as this person you're going to be introduced to in just a moment by Meridith did. Just posted the question out on social media with hashtag saleslogic. But this whole thing, you submit your question and maybe you could be famous by being on the Sales Logic podcast next week. Go ahead, Meridith.
I got to admit, this is my favorite part of the show. I love hearing from the viewers because this is really where this show is relevant. We're answering your questions. So this one today, Mark, comes to us from Germany. He says that I work for NMS Prime, it's a company in Germany, and they help their clients with solutions in provisioning, network, failure management. That's a lot. It's been really hard to reach the right contact through hotlines and as well as the direct number. I've followed one of your podcasts with Mark Hunter and have tried leaving voice messages, yet I see that nothing is working. But I've not stopped just because I couldn't reach them. I have regular follow-up on LinkedIn, and it would be nice to know your tips for cold calling, especially in the telecom industry. And thanks in advance for your help. Thanks, Meridith and Mark. So what do you think, Mark? What are your best tips for cold calling?
Well, don't think the telecom industry is any different than any other industry, because if it's cold calling, how do they know what you're calling? Here's the whole thing. I want people to get rid of this idea that it's cold calling. First of all, it is amazing the level of information we can have, and you should be minimally dialing in on who is your ICP, your ideal customer profile. You've got a persona as to who you're going after. You've got an avatar created. So in other words, right then and there, you're zeroing in on them. But more importantly, I had this the other day. Oh, lady shared with me. She says, Mark, I call people up and then I give them my elevator speech. It was like 365 words later. Excuse me. You're never going to engage somebody. And I said, do you leave that in a voice? Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I leave in a voicemail. Nobody's going to listen to that voicemail. It has to involve the person. It has to be something relevant. That's why I say you got to know who your ICP is and make the message zeroed in, targeted to them. It's not about you.
Oh, that is probably, if you want to take anything from today's show, is realize it is truly not about you. But here I think the challenge is with cold calling is that people are not going to talk to people that they don't believe can solve their problems or give them solutions. So you have to establish that credibility on the front end. I don't really think it is a cold call because by the time you get to the call, certainly I may not have met my prospect, but they better have heard of me and about me. You better be building your reputation online. You better be sticking around for today's show when we talk about how to really position yourself as an authority. And I'm going to add to that reach out with value rather than reach out with a sales call. Your first touch with a quote unquote cold call should be giving them something of value that can help them. I mean, in fact, this morning I was making a couple of cold calls and Mike and Mark, I was using our white paper to do it. I was reaching out with a document that Mark and I wrote with two of our colleagues, Mary Kelly and Sam Richter, and it's a really great white paper outlining the challenges in today's marketplace, but most importantly, the solutions. And that was my first point of contact. Learn to invest in the customer before you ask the customer to invest in you.
There's a lot there that you said. And I'm going to add a couple things. There's a simple line to keep in mind. Your reputation arrives before you do. Yeah. You may cold call somebody, but you know what? Before they're going to be Googling you. They're going to be looking to see, what does the internet have to say about you? So you clearly got to make sure that your reputation arrives before you do. But here's the whole thing. And I firmly believe this. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and make a call. You and I are both champions this. You and I both love to make cold calls. We're not intimidated by it because we know that we have the ability to help people. And see, this is the whole thing. If you have the ability to help someone, because again, you've zeroed in on your ICP, it's your responsibility to reach out to them. Hey, they didn't wake up this morning. I don't think the people you called woke up this morning and said, man, I hope Meridith Elliott Powell calls me today. I just don't think that was the case. Okay. Sorry to pop your bubble, but it's our job to get in touch with them. So back to the question in terms of leaving a voicemail, don't be alarmed if they don't return your voicemail. I look at voicemails as really being nothing much more than a billboard along the side of the road. That's it. It's more just a piece of awareness. One single voicemail is not going to create a response, but a voicemail in conjunction with other forms of communication and the repetition does create a response. So don't give up just because you've left, but please keep the voicemail short. This lady who had that 365, I don't know if it was 360, it was long. There's no way anybody's going to listen to that. And there's no way anybody's going to respond.
Yeah, I think my favorite voicemail to leave is, hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell. I was reaching out. I've got some ideas and some strategies to help you, whatever their current challenge is. Don't bother with calling me back. I'm just going to shoot you a quick email to follow up with this, and I look forward to connecting soon. It gives me the opportunity to touch them twice. The other is it takes the burden that they don't have to respond to voicemail. And we're kind of living in a time when a lot of people don't even listen to their voicemails. So I like that. I like that kind of double whammy, but you make such a great point of keeping it short. Well, Mark, it's clear we could probably talk about this subject all day. I do want to mention we've got some audience members reaching out to us from LinkedIn, checking in, saying hello, and just really glad that you are here and hope you get a lot of value from today's show. But Mark, why don't we dive into today's topic and really talk about what you need to do to establish yourself as an authority. But I'd like to start with, why does that even matter?
Well, just as we were saying when we were answering the question, your reputation arrives before you do. It's a busy world out there. It's noisy, and people have the ability to really work with or choose not to work with anybody they desire. So your reputation, your niche, you must be seen as an expert, especially now with everybody kind of working in a virtual world. Our competitive set is not somebody that's 10 miles down the road or 20 miles down the road. Our competitive set is somebody who's 10,000 miles away. I just got off the phone with some people in India. They're my competitive set.
Yeah. I think the thing that you've got to understand is that when COVID came in, it took away our traditional prospect building strategies. We've lost the golf tournament. We've lost the networking event. We've lost the cocktail party. We've lost the trade show. And with those gone, the best way to get in the door with a prospect is to build your reputation, build your brand, and position yourself as somebody that they see as a resource. So again, people need to have heard of you and about you. This is your time to start creating content, positioning it both on your social media channels, but also using it in your sales calls. I did a LinkedIn Live with Ian Altman a couple of weeks ago, and he uses this when he calls on customers. I just thought it was brilliant. He'll just say, I'm reaching out because some of the trends that we have seen in your industry are these particular challenges. And we've come up with some solutions and ideas that I'd like to share with you. Now, who doesn't want to listen to that? If somebody would call me right now and say, Meredith, I know these are the three biggest challenges that you're facing because we study your industry. And if they nail those three strategies, if that's exactly what's going on in my mind, then I'm piqued. I'm willing to listen because I will give my time to the person who has my answers and who has the answers and solutions that I need to grow my business.
Yeah, it's timely, relevant, and intentional. That's what I like about that. But hold it. There was something that you said, those first couple words out of your mouth. The golf tournament is no longer there. It would just be appropriate that Meridith Elliott Powell, who does have a 7 handicap, would say that the golf tournament is not there. I don't know what your handicap is, but I know you would smoke me if we ever play golf. So just saying. Here's something interesting. When you look to create a niche, the tighter you become, the more valuable you are seen. Now, don't sit there and say, well, Mark, I sell office supplies. I sell this, I sell that. Hey, you know what though? Become a niche expert. What does that mean? That means you come up with something that I do every week in my weekly blog on my YouTube channel. I put out a list of 10 things relative to one very specific topic. And that's how I create a niche. You want to be seen because just like you made the comment about Ian called people, we've seen trends in your industry. What does that mean? And you know what's interesting? And I don't think you have to be brilliant to be seen as an expert. A 2-watt light bulb looks pretty good in a dark room. All right? I mean, it's amazing. All you have to do is bring a few insights and you begin to be seen. And then what are you putting out on LinkedIn? What are you putting out on social media? You want to be seen. My Mark, you are known as an expert in your niche when the customer is calling you up and asking strategic questions that they need assistance on. Because they're calling you because they know that you could help give them some insights. You could help give them some ideas.
I think the key to this is the way that you become an expert is you need to be relevant. And the way that you figure out how to be relevant is you don't decide what your customer needs. You engage and talk to your customers. Anybody listening today, I want to give you just a quick assignment. If you could, over the next week, just reach out, talk to 5 or 10 of your existing customers, people who have been customers with you for a while, and just ask them, tell me what's going on in your business. What are the biggest challenges you're facing? What are some things that you're doing to kind of reconfigure how you do business? As you're looking at 2021, what are you focusing on? What are your strategies? I mean, Mark, you and I are getting ready to do this in a session that we're having this afternoon. We're starting off by asking questions. See, when you ask questions of your existing customers, not only will they answer them and interpret that as you taking an interest in caring, but they're going to give you exactly what you need in the exact language you need it to be relevant. And relevancy turns into the opportunity to get in the door with prospects, which turns into bottom line results. It is a myth that people are not buying today, a complete myth. People will give their time, give their energy, and give their resources to people who can solve their problems. But the only way to know how to solve somebody's problems is to be relevant. If you're not using the exact same language they're using, they're not going to recognize you as an expert.
And that means networking with other people in your niche. It's one of the reasons you and I work together. Right. Why do we work together? Because we elevate each other in the niche that we get to play in. And that's absolutely incredible. You see, what's very interesting is so many times people say, well, gee, how come that person's so smart? Well, the reason that person's so smart is because they've just asked a lot of good questions.
Yeah.
They have listened, they've read, they've taken the time to do the deep dive. And I tell people, for instance, when I'm walking through companies, when I'm working with companies and we're putting in place the ABM process, account business management process, I say one of the things that you want to do is that industry, that niche that you're going in, you want to be spending at least 15 to 30 minutes a day reading, learning, studying about your industry, and that's how within 30, 60 days, you're going to become an expert. Then you take that and you go a step further. You say, what's a subset within that? And you repeat the process. And then you repeat the process. And it's amazing, but very quickly, you're going to be seen as an incredible expert. And it changes your level of confidence. It changes the level of questions people are willing to ask you. It changes your ability to get meetings with people who you didn't think you would get meetings with. We have to be seen as a niche expert if we want to be successful in this environment we're in.
You know what? I love what you said about that, is the fact that the more that I study and I learn about my industry, I just finished working on a presentation. I've got a pre-record tomorrow. And there were a couple of things that the client asked me for that I wouldn't necessarily think of myself as an expert in. So I had to go in, I had to research, and I had to study. And that builds my own confidence. It builds my own belief in myself. And at the end of the day, I mean, we could do a whole session on this. People are buying the energy that is coming off of you. The biggest sale you're ever going to make to yourself is you've got to believe you are an expert before somebody else believes, your prospect believes you're an expert. And that comes from, the only way to do that is to do the homework, is to do the work, is to invest in learning and educating yourself every day. And it doesn't have to be a huge investment, just spending 30 minutes every day, either reading or listening to a podcast or joining us here on Sales Logic, but really spending that time, because it's going to build your confidence, and the energy that is coming off of you is what prospects are going to respond to.
Quick example I'll share. Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, several different times, he's made the comment. He says, I'm willing to invest. I don't think you have the right product, but I'm going to invest because of you. I think we can do something together. Now, what does that mean? That means Mark Cuban is seeing something in that person, some sort of skill set in that person they want to tap in. The product sucks. The product is not what Mark, but wow, what does that mean? They've defined themselves. That's what we need to be seen as today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that, I want to transition to the book, and I apologize. I forgot to bring it into the studio with me today, but the book really goes along with the session, and it is a book on thought leadership by Matt Church. He really wrote the guide and wrote the Bible, so to speak, on how to really position yourself as a thought leader in the marketplace. I've read the book twice. I pick it back up and probably going to start it for a third time, because I read it before COVID hit, and there's a lot of really relevant information. But if you want to dive deeper into this subject, if you want to go in just a little bit more on it, I really suggest you look into Matt Church's Thought Leadership, because it truly is a guide and a step-by-step about what you need to do to position yourself as an expert, but more importantly, why doing so and the return on investment you're going to get.
And because you recommended that book, I had not read it. So I went out and ordered it, and I'm looking forward to digging into it. I tend to get into it this next week. So anyway, hey, with that, let's jump into the lightning round. The lightning round, the question is, what are the top strategies for dominating your niche?
Top strategies. Number one, you got to learn to love video. You got to really get comfortable. Video gets watched more than podcasts get listened to, more than articles get read. So with video, people can really get to know you, your personality, and your thoughts.
Number two, you got to find 5 websites that are zeroed in on that niche, and you got to study them, read them, learn them, stay up to date on them continuously.
Yeah. Number 3 is you got to consistently produce content. You better schedule it into your week, whether you're writing an article, doing a podcast, shooting a video, whatever it is that you're doing, but you have to be consistently putting content out on social media, and you're not going to build your following overnight, but if you do it consistently, the following will follow.
I'm going to say find 5 other people anywhere in the world that you can connect with that share the same passion for that niche. Get connected with them, share with them, become a thought leader group with them.
Reach out to at least 10 of your existing clients. I want you to make a list right now of clients that you have worked with in the last year. And I just want you to write down 3 or 4 open-ended questions. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in your business. How are things in the industry? What's your biggest challenge? And what are you focused on for 2021? Take a lot of notes and look for the themes, because the themes that come up to the answers to those questions, that's what you're going to be creating content on, because that's what's going to make you relevant.
Take your niche and learn from past tense, but your real value is when you develop future tense. Look down the road. What are going to be the trends? What are going to be the things? What are going to be the objective statements that you can make that are going to have people thinking, wow, she really knows this business and where it's going?
Start following other thought leaders in your area or that you admire. Start to comment on the posts that they make. Share some of their information. You are known by the company that you keep, and start to get recognized by some of them, sharing their expertise so that your followers see you in that same level of thought leadership.
Be consistent, be diligent. This isn't an activity you jump into for a week or two. This is an activity you have to embrace with dedicated time on a regular basis to learn your niche. Why don't you share one more? I'll share one more, and then I'll go ahead and shut it down.
Yeah. Set some time, at least on a monthly basis, if not monthly, at least quarterly, to really sit down and assess what's working and what isn't working. What are you doing that is building your reputation, establishing you as a thought leader and an expert, and what isn't working, so that you can consistently improve your strategy and make sure that your efforts are netting the results that you want.
Look outside your box. As zeroed in as you are on your niche, don't forget that you need to look outside, because you're going to find things. What are those external factors that may one day impact your internal niche? The sooner you understand what they are and where they're coming from, the more you'll be seen as a proactive leader in your niche. Hey, with that, we need to kind of wrap up this week's episode of Sales Logic Podcast. I'm going to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
the uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We'll see you next week with another episode. Don't forget, send us your questions, reach out. We love having audience engagement, and we'll see you next week with another episode and more answers to your questions.